What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. As you can see, it's a rainy day here in Colorado, and I thought it'd be the perfect time to show you how I stay warm living and traveling in this 5x8 tiny home. And for all of you that are new here, I'm Joshi, and I've been living and traveling for 8 months in this tiny home that I converted earlier this year. I started the journey in February in SoCal, went up to British Columbia, through Alberta, stayed in Canada for 6 months, headed back down through Montana, Wyoming, and now in Colorado. And here's a quick tour of what my tiny home looks like. You can see I got my living space here, my L-shaped couch. This converts into my bed. Stepping on outside here, we got my composting toilet here. We got my black stainless steel sink with my battery powered mirror, my battery powered faucet, hooked up to 7 gallons of fresh water, and I don't know whatever that is of gray water. All my cooking gear is here, and I do cook outside on rainy days like this. I'll pop open the rooftop fan and I'll cook right here, and it works out no problem. Look on the outside here, you can see it's a 5x8 interstate trailer, and I got a window here and a window there. And stepping onto the inside, I'll go over my first way that I stay warm living in this 5x8 tiny home, and this is how I stayed warm doing all my camping and travels I did before. Because before this, my wife and I actually traveled around with a rooftop tent, and it is a heating blanket. I really like to use heating blankets because they're pretty efficient, they're not that expensive, and they keep you super warm. And a little trick with the heating blankets is that if you actually lay on top of it and then put your blanket over it, it's going to trap all that heat on the inside and keep you a lot warmer. So I do have an off-grid system in here which I power my heating blanket with. But before I had all that and I was traveling with my rooftop tent, we used this Jackery right here, and this was able to power the heating blanket all through the night and kept both of us warm. But there is a word of caution here, because there was some trial and error that I had to figure out. Jackery and other power sources like this have a lot of technology built into them and a lot of safeguards and things that I don't understand. And what that means is that it doesn't power everything the way that your house does. So I actually had to try several different heating blankets to see which ones the Jackery would power. Now, I don't know why it won't power every heating blanket, but it happens to power this one just fine. If you're going to try this method of keeping warm at all, I highly recommend that you plan ahead and do some testing, trial and error before your trip. Maybe borrow someone's heating blanket to make sure that one actually works, the Jackery, because you might be like me and have to actually try a couple heating blankets until you find the one that works with these power sources. Now, with my off-grid system under here, my Renogy 1000 watt inverter has no issue powering multiple heating blankets. So if you have something like that, the heating blanket's going to work out perfect for you. So when we did take those trips to the rooftop tent, this actually didn't work with my first heating blanket, but it just so happened that my cousin had given me this power bank, and for some reason, this one powered the heating blanket, but this one didn't. So what we wound up doing was plugging the heating blanket into this, charging this with the Jackery, and running the Jackery to power here to the heating blanket. It was not efficient at all because we lost a lot of power through the conversions of the battery banks. But whatever, it kept us warm, and now we have a core memory of the trip. So yeah, heating blankets are definitely the way to go. If you don't have one, I suggest picking it up. So the second way I stay warm when living and traveling full time my 5x8 tiny home is, as the Canadians say, put on more clothes. And what I really like is merino wool. It's super warm, it's layerable, and it's antibacterial, so you can wear it for many days without actually smelling too bad. The third way that I fight the cold with living in this 5x8 tiny home is my insulation. All of my walls, my ceiling, and my floor all have about 1-inch thick insulation. And I know that's common sense, but that's also how I fight the cold living in this trailer. And now for the best way that I stay warm is my diesel heater. And that little guy's right here. So in this trailer build, I went with the 5 kilowatt diesel heater. And I think in my 5x8 space, that's just way too much. They do have a 2 kilowatt diesel heater, but that was sold out when I was ordering stuff for my build. If you've never tried these diesel heaters, they are hot. And when you have insulation and things like that, they really don't need that much to keep the space super warm. It does use a little bit of power and a little bit of diesel, but it is by far the best way I have at staying warm in this tiny home. And I know other people do like wood burning stoves and stuff, but for me, trying to be stealthy, I just thought that seeing the smoke outside would give it away that I'm camping in here. And the diesel heater does have some drawbacks. Fuel pump does make a clicking sound that is pretty loud and difficult to get used to, but there are ways that you can combat that. There are different fuel pumps you could buy, or you could also build like a little housing around the fuel pump. And I just want to show you on the outside of the trailer where I keep my diesel heater tank. That is right here between my spare tire. So when I go to the gas station, I'm able just to pop this open and fill this tank with diesel. And to give you a view from the underside, the diesel tank goes through my fuel filter, comes along here to the fuel pump, and then pumps underneath there to the diesel heater. And I did use the metal housing and a silicone radiator for fireplaces. And this is the intake for the air. And then here is my exhaust that goes out to the back. And I just keep the remote right here. And the diesel heater is just installed underneath this seat. And there's the control module, and it's inside this box. And I know it's hard to see, but there is a gap in here for fresh air to get in there. And that's where it pulls in air to heat it and then push it out here. So if you are thinking about going with diesel heater, there's something I should let you know. And that is that these green hoses that the diesel heaters come with, well, these are only going to last you about a season. And I think that's because the diesel or something eats through the hose and it'll start to create leaks over time. Now, Amazon does have a specific fuel line kit that you could change out with your diesel heater. So I guess what I'm saying is that when you do a build like this, make sure you have access to your fuel line, because the diesel heater is going to need some maintenance from time to time. And there are other errors that come up with diesel heaters, and sometimes they can be a little finicky. But overall, once you start to use them and get used to it, I think they're the best way of heating these small places. I know there's other ways of staying warm with living and traveling on the road. But those are just some of the ways that I do it personally. I also know things like a sleeping bag and heating up a water bottle before night work out really well. But I'm going for the home feeling, and I just use a comforter and a heating blanket. So what are some of the ways that you stay warm when camping or being off-grid? And that about wraps up this video. If you like my content and want to support me, please give me a thumbs up. And also consider subscribing because I'll be posting much more content about my tiny home and my upcoming travels in it. I also have a ton of YouTube shorts already posted, and those are worth checking out. Yeah, I think that's it for this video. We'll see you in the next one.